Hey, how's it going?
Welcome back.
Oh, man, I'm tired, but
Yeah,
it's all good. We're
to the
still
Midnight
here.
Podcast.
We are burning the midnight oil, to say the least. And we are here to review season 1 of the show Cloak and Dagger.
Whoop, whoop.
Now, before I begin, I listened to Volume 1, Episode 2 of the Super Flow Bro podcast, and I realized we didn't really introduce ourselves. So let me kick it off. I am your host, Marcus Flowers, aka Flo. Just don't call me lazy. And I am joined by my co-host.
My name is Morgan Flowers, Momo Flowers, and y'all know who it is. Metro Meta, put it in the streets. Let's go.
Right. So we are here to talk about the first season of Cloak and Dagger. So
Amazing.
What we're going to do first, I'm going to read the synopsis. So, 2 teenagers from very different backgrounds find themselves burdened and awakened to newly acquired superpowers while falling in love. The last part, falling in love, is kind of iffy, but I get it.
We'll talk about it later.
It stars Olivia Holt, who plays Dagger, and Aubrey Joseph, who plays Cloak.
Now, did you know any of them before this show?
I was unfamiliar with both of the actors and actresses, so this was my first time seeing them.
I knew Olivia Holt because I grew up in Disney Channel. I remember seeing her in I Didn't Do It and Kicking It.
Okay.
But I did not hear about the other guy. He was new to me.
Okay. So Olivia Holt plays Dagger, also known as Tandy Bowen, and Aubrey Joseph, who plays Tyrone Johnson, who plays Cloak. And it also stars Gloria Rubin, who plays Adina Johnson, Cloak's mom. J.D. Evermore, who plays Detective Connors. Miles Musadin, who plays Otis Johnson. Noelle Renee Bursay, who plays Evita Fusilier. Andrea Ruff, who plays Melissa Bowen. Emma Lahana, who plays Detective Bridget O'Reilly. And Carl Lindsay, who plays Liam Walsh. Do you remember Liam?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, so overall, what did you think about the season?
I liked it. I thought it was really good. Really strong storytelling, really great.
Okay. Actually, I kind of have a hot take. My hot take is, this is the best Marvel television series. No, second best Marvel television series that they have ever created. I put that behind Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I would say to you, watch Runaways.
Probably not. But so
Runaways,
you think Runaways is better than Cloak and Dagger?
I would say I knew Runaways more before it, but I would say it's at least on par with it. They're both the same sort of storytelling where you're in a supernatural superhero world, but you're focusing on normal people, a normal life. And I think that is the strength. And at least these, because we watch it on Hulu, but these sort of spin-off shows not run through Netflix, is Netflix is making superhero television, while these are making television that happens to have superheroes.
So yeah, I completely agree with that. It's super weird, not weird. The differences between the Netflix shows such as Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Daredevil, Iron Fist, The Defenders, and shows like Runaways and Cloak and Dagger, because it feels like, although it feels like everything that happens in the Netflix series, it happens because of the heroes, and life doesn't move on without them. While in the Hulu shows, it feels like, or at least in Cloak and Dagger, it feels like they have powers, but life still goes on. Is that correct?
Yeah, they still have their lives, their problems. Everything didn't just stop because they have.
Yeah.
One of the things I would think about is if you look at Jessica Jones and how her story started. If you think about her story minus her powers, it would have been better. It was just, there would be no story there. But if you look at Cloak and Dagger, you take away the fact that they have powers, you could still tell a story about that.
Yeah, it does. So let's start it off. So you want to do episode by episode, or do you just want to do in general?
Let's do it in general, because we don't know episode by episode.
Okay, so...
But first, why don't we ask favorite episode?
My favorite episode would probably have to be. I'd say it was the ninth episode or whatever episode where Tandy tried to steal the powers from tried to steal the dreams from Evita, and Evita blocked her and said, "Not here."
That was a pretty cool scene.
That's when Evita realized that she's Tyrone's divine pairing.
That to me was a really good scene. I loved seeing that and seeing her do that. Let's see. My favorite episode. I think the episode you're talking about is Backbreakers.
Okay.
Second in Life. That's also my favorite episode. I loved that episode because of the way that they framed it. They framed it as like them learning from a classroom. And they're talking about everything that's happening. I love it when a writer tells you what's going to happen and what's happening, and you're still surprised by what's going on.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, starting off, let's just start off when they got their powers. So it was two different situations. Tandy, who was shown to be a very independent child at the time, her father did not pick her up from ballet practice on time, and so her father works for Roxxon. It's Roxxon Industries, I believe it's Roxxon Industries. And so they were driving towards the rig, and it's based in New Orleans, Louisiana, and we'll get more to why that's important later. But so they're driving towards the oil rig where the father has been working on and constructing to build. They're digging for something. Now on the other side we have Tyrone, who's trying to impress his brother and his friends by stealing back a car radio that somebody took advantage of Tyrone's older brother and his friends.
Yeah.
And so what happens is Tyrone surprises his older brother and says, "Yo, I lifted the stereo system for you." And Tyrone's brother, "No, that's not how we roll. Let's go return it." And by the time they start to return it, the cops find them, and then the cops chase them. And so on the other side of that, we have Tandy and her father, and Tandy's father's on the phone with somebody from Roxxon. I believe it was the other engineer. It was Mina's. No, that's
real quick. Spoilers.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, this is gonna be full of spoilers. But it was Mina Hess's father, Ivan Hess. He was on the phone with Ivan Hess, talking about the dangerous levels that the rig was on, and it was supposed to blow. And so and he was like swerving, and so the rig exploded, and Tandy's father drove off the bridge into the water. While on the other side, we have Tyrone and his older brother running from the cops, and they're stuck on the port, and then the rig explodes, and a detective shoots Tyrone's older brother.
Yeah.
So how did you feel about that?
That was an interesting storyline to add in there, because this is a time when police shootings, and I think we're starting to see this more with books like Children of Blood and Bone, and with this, we're starting to see that cops killing young black men is starting to become a storyline in certain shows, and I like it because it puts on the forefront of people's mind. And of course, this show was made by Freeform, ABC Freeform, which is a progressive like TV show network that they remade, and it really puts it in the eyes and minds of people who need to be thinking, how do we stop this? And really keeping it on the forefront. It became a really strong story structure to put things in. Tyrone spending this entire time thinking about his brother, measuring up to his brother, and how this was all his fault. And I think that really added to his character, and it added to both. I feel like
it also hindered him.
Well, yeah.
Just because living up to a person that's dead who's already completed their journey you're always gonna feel like you'll never be as good as the person. And he addressed that when he was talking to his parents in different situations like that. But yeah, so basically, Tandy and her father go into the bridge, and Tyrone tried to go into the water under the bridge, and Tyrone dives after his older brother, this police officer who had shot him. And so Tyrone and Tandy, they're both stuck underwater, and all of a sudden there's like a mixture of light and darkness that overcomes them, and soon they like touch hands underwater, and they're lifted, and they awake on the shore, and Tandy steals Tyrone's hoodie, which was his older brother's. He steals that, and she leaves, and then Tyrone wakes up, and he takes the ballerina slipper that Tandy was wearing because she left that behind, and then he leaves.
Yeah, it was amazing. It's a great origin story. It has everything you need to know about it. It has their powers. It has their motivations.
Well, it doesn't necessarily. It shows them getting powers. It doesn't. You don't see their powers yet.
But you do see the basis of their powers. The ballerina shoe is almost the exact size and copy of the same daggers that she uses, and Tyrone needs some sort of cloak-like subject like the hoodie in order for him to use his powers. So you start seeing the basis of where their powers might have come from, and you can start theorizing and thinking about it.
Yeah. Okay, so let's fast forward 10 years. Tyrone is a senior in high school. He is a star basketball player. He's talking to this girl named Vita, who plays a larger role as we move on towards the end of the season. And he's got his head straight. He still struggles every day with living up to his brother's expectations and trying to be the man that his brother was. So he has a lot. He feels like he has a lot on his shoulders.
And he does. And you see that in both his family. He literally did the move on up thing. Mm-hmm. I think one of my favorite scenes about that was when you're dealing with the father and his old like pseudo gang that he used to be in.
All right, you're jumping ahead here. Let's rewind it back a little bit. So let's go with let's see what's up with Tandy. And Tandy is basically, she's a stick-up kid. She's basically a Robin Hood who doesn't give to the poor. She's basically keeping it for herself, and we soon find out that her mother has a opioid addiction,
something that she also inherited.
Yes. So, and that's I feel like that's very critical because we're dealing with like an opioid addiction right now in the United States. So it's just it hits home for like, I feel like that way hit home for multiple audiences. But she doesn't really live with her mom. She's not close to her mom, and she basically blames her mother for her father dying,
which is kind of fair. Not to be that guy, but if we go back to the beginning, the person who was supposed to pick her up from ballerina practice was her mom.
No, it was, and we saw what happened. Why? And we figure out on Tandy, as soon as Tandy walks from the shore back home, we find her mom has overdosed on
alcohol and opioids, strung out on the couch.
Yeah. And so meanwhile we have Tyrone who's we're back in time. We're still back in time, sorry. And so we have Tyrone who's walking from the shore back to his life, and he stumbles across a what would you call it? A voodoo?
Not a voodoo doll.
No, History of New Orleans. We're messing it up.
Oh, that History of New Orleans voodoo tour.
Yes,
that was nice. That was a fun tour.
Yeah, and I feel like that's extremely important just because since they're based in New Orleans, I think that was a great element to pull from. Not just hey, we're in the city. No, they pulled like actual historical. They pulled historical facts, and they pulled a part of the New Orleans culture from there to implant it in the series, which I feel like that's really amazing. And so as Tyrone is on this tour, the tour guide says, because he's only like 8 years old, and the tour guide's like, where's your mom at? And then he runs away, and the tour guide is Evita's aunt. and we'll talk about it via later. But let's go back to the current age. And so Tandy is basically a stick-up kid who does anything she wants for money, and she'll play you. And she has a kind of a Clyde to her Bonnie, if we who's a bit older than her. That kind of concerns me, just because
it does.
It feels like Tandy's still like at least like 17, and he seems like, his name's Liam. He looks like he's like 20 or 21, which is kind of like it's kind of iffy to me. I didn't really like that aspect of it. But that's her Bonnie and Clyde. That's her Clyde to her Bonnie. And so they run the streets together. And after she sticks up the guys, she sticks up these wealthy young frat boys from parties and clubs. And we actually see it happening where she's at a club and she approaches this guy and she's flirting with this guy, and they go back to his mansion, his uncle's mansion, and he's like, yo, if we're not gonna do it tonight, then I'm gonna get back out there because I'm not wasting my time here. And she basically roofies him and is like, yeah, you don't have to worry about getting back out there because I'm gonna steal from you. And so he's roofied, so he passes out and she basically steals from him.
Yeah, it was an interesting scene, and we very much see how she has survived for the last couple of years without her mom. She goes to a club, she knows what to order, she dresses nice, she looks cute, she breaks in, she knows what the nice stuff is.
She comes from money.
She does come from money.
Because her father worked for the Roxxon, I feel like it's Roxxon Corporation. Yeah. All right. Roxxon Corporation. They were a fairly well off family before the rig explosion. And after the rig explosion, Roxxon blamed her father for the miscalculations, and that's why it exploded. And so not only does Roxxon ruin her father's name, they take away basically everything from Tandy and her mother. So they're basically left with nothing. And that is why Tandy has resorted to stealing from wealthy people and trying to become, just to survive, because she feels like she's missing the void, and doing these acts of crime helps her.
One of the things I'd like to point out is dark and goodness, and the balance between the two. It's a common theme throughout the show.
Right.
And they do this thing where they always try to balance out the two characters between Tandy and Tyrone. Like, Tandy came from wealth but became poor, while Tyrone came from being poor and comes to a very middle class wealthy family.
Well, I say they're well off now because
they're well off
his
now.
mother works for Roxxon, I believe.
Yeah, his mother works for Roxxon now, and so you sort of see like this
reversal.
Yeah, and there's one powerful scene I'd like to think about is further on when they do have a huge like going at it about their past and about who might have had it the worst. And you see that they basically have had it always balanced out. You have Tyrone, who is a black man whose brother was shot, and he grew up in the hood and he knows what it's like out there. Mm-hmm. And then you have Tammy, who did come from wealth, but she lost everything, and now she's in what a lot of people in America now, what the Trump base is in, where they are in these poor areas with opioid addictions, and they see and feel forgotten and left behind. And so you see sort of like a discussion between the two of them.
First question is, how close can we get to each other without triggering her crazy?
If you can't control yourself, then you can't control a damn thing in this world.
I don't know how it works. It has a mind of its own. Why us?
And it really doesn't solve it, but I think at the end it comes to the message of, well, whose fault is it? The people on top.
Yeah, and actually the first time that Tandy and Tyrone really interact in a setting, well, because Tandy steals Tyrone's wallet, and so Tyrone finds out, and he runs after her, and soon they collide in a graveyard, which I feel is very, very significant because they both lost people in their lives, and that's where their powers start to manifest. And then they're looking at each other like, "Yo, what happened?
Was this your fault? Was this my fault?"
Yeah,
it was a great way of showing their powers and discussing what it is. And why don't we skip to the Voodoo family? The
divine parents.
Not the divine parents, the Voodoo family, his girlfriend and her mother.
Okay, so Tyrone has this love interest who goes by the name of Avita, and Avita is she's basically, we don't know where her mother is, but she's very close with her aunt, and her aunt runs the New Orleans voodoo tour. She goes by Auntie Chantel, and
Auntie Chantel,
the first time she interacts with Tyrone, she senses a presence about him, and she immediately carves out his figurine because she realized he's part of the divine pairing. And so what the divine pairing is every quarter, I don't want to say every quarter, but every certain amount of time and period in New Orleans, there's a divine pairing where one has to live and one has to die.
Because of an energy that they say is in New Orleans.
Yeah.
And that's what Roxanne is trying to get at, which my question would be is, and you're the Marvel aficionado on this podcast, what do you think is down there?
I feel like it's the same. It's dark matter.
Dark matter.
It's the same dark matter from Doctor Strange that was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So I feel like it's a common thing. Like, it's just the dark matter, and so, but I think since it's underground and maybe, I'm just guessing here, I'm not sure. I mean, maybe like manifested over like time, so it's a different type of dark matter, but it's still the same type of dark matter that Doctor Strange had in his movie that Agent Coulson was dealing with in season 5 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And so with like the Ghost Rider and everything, so I feel like it's the same type of energy.
Same type of energy, but the way the show frames it is, in order, whenever this dark matter starts to come up again, they have to solve it, and there's a divine pairing. Two people, one must die, and one must live.
Yeah, and so Tyrone doesn't know this, but the aunt knows this, and the aunt is trying to tell Avita to tell Tyrone that he's part of the divine pairing, but she doesn't want to because she doesn't know what's going on.
And Lavita is very much, and I'd like to talk about their love story. I think it was very well written.
Yes, I do too. I feel like it's excellent because in the comics, Tandy and Tyrone are actually a couple. And so seeing that Tyrone had his own life and seeing that Tandy has her own life before they're together, I feel like that's a great wrinkle in that.
It's a great wrinkle, and you can very much see from the beginning that she is, for lack of a
she was shooting her shot on him, and he just was not. He was not picking up the hints. He was like, he's like most guys. I don't know. But yeah, so
she is very interesting because she saw her man, formulated a plan, and she took him.
Yeah.
And I like the way they showed this because she's both important to the story and also important to what it means to be a love interest. So, okay, what I mean to say is that her story and what she's doing is more than just her connection to Tyrone. She isn't just Tyrone's love interest. She's the voodoo lady. She's a good guy, friend. Basically. Yeah. And it's great development for her.
Yes. And I know we're kind of going linear, but we're jumping all over the place. And we're sorry about that. But let's move on to Detective Connors.
The
Can I-
detective story.
Can I just say that he is first of all, can we talk about this cop bar scene where Detective Connors beat the crap out of
another detective?
and all the cops just looked on and was like,
hey,
whatever.
It's New Orleans.
And one of the things that I did not like about the cop situation is I feel like I've never been to New Orleans. I feel like it's a very large city.
Yeah.
And the way they made it seem like I get like cops have vendettas, but they just made it seem like it was just like laser focused on this one guy.
He's the main.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing, is that they very much make him seem like he's the main cop. You go against him, everything's wrong. I'm just like, she may be new in town, but like, he killed another cop. Like, there's no way you can just get away with all of this stuff. I don't care what your connections are in Vice. And so when I see all of this, the long cop story, it's very hard to both connect with it, because in my head I'm thinking there has to be a second precinct. There has to be somewhere else these people
definitely
can go.
Especially during at the end during the Mardi Gras, like
Yeah.
there's only one precinct that can help in New Orleans.
Yeah, and when Mardi Gras hits and he's still on this vendetta and people are just going crazy, I'm just like, you doing too much.
And he shoots the one cop that was, well, I don't want to say one cop because there were two cops trying to help Tyrone get justice for his brother's death. And I can't remember the cop's name right now, but
he's the one who died.
The one who died in the refrigerator. And Detective O'Connor's basically thought he killed her, and before he killed her, he shot his gun at her, and some of the dark matter came out, and it hurt her, and she fell into the water. And I feel like that's definitely gonna come back.
Yeah. Did you see they put out a promotional image for season 2? It has some red marks on it. It has some yellow scratches on it.
I will have to look. Do you know who Detective Connors turns into?
No.
Okay. So in the comics, not Detective Connors, Detective O'Reilly. Detective O'Reilly is called Mayhem. And she's basically an anti-hero. She's a vigilante who basically is very rough, and she does not like drug dealers or corrupt cops, because corrupt cops is the reason why she got her powers in the comics, and it's the same reason why she got her powers on the show. So I feel like that's going to be a major storyline and something that Cloak and Dagger will have to deal with.
Because one of my favorite, our favorite episode, the one that's framed through the classroom, during part of that scene after her lover gets killed, it talks about how you either die trying to become a hero or you stop being that hero.
Yeah, no,
you can very much see that she's going to be a sort of Punisher anti-hero. No,
definitely. And another thing I wanted to talk about, I know we're jumping close to the end, we're going to wrap up soon here, is Tyrone absorbing Detective Connors
into his shadow realm.
So yeah, do you know about the shadow realm a little bit?
I know a little bit of shadow realm.
So basically, Tyrone's shadow realm, he has to feed it
with light from her.
So I feel like that's going so since he didn't tell Tandy what he did to the cop, I feel like that's going to be a major storyline. And in the current Cloak and Dagger comic, he's having, or not even in the current, in the past one that came out in 1984, he uses Tandy to help, he absorbs Tandy's light to help him keep control, because if Tandy's not there, he's losing control. So I feel like that could be something that they explore, because mostly throughout the season, it was Tyrone keeping Tandy in check, especially when she was
out there stealing people's hopes and dreams.
Yeah, using her powers to not only steal people's hopes and dreams, but basically making them realize that their hopes and dreams are never going to happen.
Yeah, you see that she did it to one of the Roxanne guys, and you see him afterwards. He's destroyed. He's gone.
To the main one, Scarborough, the one who covered everything up.
Yeah.
Also, I was happy for Liam for taking that money. Were you? I know the situation was kind of iffy, but
to
she
be
definitely
fair,
deserved it.
She was a jerk.
She definitely deserved it. Like, they were at the altar, and it's like, yo, you can't let my guy have this one. This is like the second time, the third time you seeing this. So it's clear that he just wants you, but you gonna take that from him. Yeah, you definitely deserve to get all that money taken from. And I like the way towards the end, it was like a reversal. Again, we have Tyrone on the run from the police. And he goes to the church to just, that's where he's gonna live. And we have Tandy moving back home with her mother.
Yeah. So let's talk before we end Hope's Dream Season 2. I want a Runaways crossover.
No, I do want a Runaways crossover. I also would like an appearance from Misty Knight. Because actually Detective O'Reilly mentioned her in one of the episodes. Like, you haven't met Misty. Not Misty Knight. Misty Knight is a porn star. Apologize for that. Misty Stone. No, Misty Stone is a porn star. It's Misty Knight. My apologies. Sorry about that. Sorry, okay. Guys. Sorry, guys. Misty Knight. And so I would like a Misty Knight appearance. I also, because Roxanne is still there and they still have to pick the piece, I'd like to explore more of Roxanne. I also would like the relationship with I would like to see the relationship between Evita, Tyrone, and Tandy
to be more explored.
Just because since Tyrone has absorbed somebody into a shadow realm, it's gonna be hungry. And so I want to see how Evita's going to be cool with basically Tyrone absorbing Tandy's power. This is just all guesses, so I'm not too sure.
Yeah, and I think one of my favorite things I also want them to explore more is when Tandy asks Roxanne why they're doing it. One of the reasons they give is that we're trying to keep up with the Joneses, we're trying to keep up with the Starks
and the Rands,
and you're starting to see now the sort of Marvel influence where it, because this is in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
It is.
It just like Runaways, but one of my favorite things about these is that it's in the universe, but unlike Daredevil and Jessica Jones, it's not a slave to those universes. But you start seeing the influences of things like Mr. Stark and things like that. What's happening in other areas around the world when Stark's flying around on a ship and the government goes, okay, well, we need one of those. We need our own Thors. We need our own heroes like that. And I want to explore that. And I do want a crossover between Runaways. Because Runaways was really good. And also, in the comics, there was a crossover between the Runaways and Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah, so definitely very looking forward to next season. I think it will exceed my expectations. I wasn't really expecting a lot from this one just because I couldn't really get into Runaways. It was too much of a slow burn for me.
Runaways is a slow burn.
But I am looking forward to season 2. I got to catch up on Runaways.
Yes.
But yeah, that's about it. That's our quick review of Cloak and Dagger season 1. I am once again Marcus Flowers.
Morgan Flowers.
Make sure you are following 26th and Glencoe Media. Make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube. Make sure you are downloading our podcast on Apple Podcasts. We're also on Spotify, Stitcher, and all platforms that podcasts are available on. And make sure you follow 26th and Glencoe on social media. We have a Facebook page, 26th and Glencoe Media. We are on Twitter at 26thNG, and we're on Instagram at 26th and Glencoe. Once again, this is Marcus Flowers.
Morgan Flowers.
And we will see you later. Peace.
See y'all.